Hi guys, my name is Dev. I'm a producer here at NowThis, and I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And it was an incredible movie and a solid sequel for Marvel, which for them isn't always a sure thing. Their origin stories are pretty much always satisfying, but when the heroes return for a second round, that's when things get a little shaky. Some of the worst reviewed Marvel movies are sequels, and yet other sequels are some of the best MCU movies, including Guardians Volume 2. Let's take a closer look and try to figure out what makes a Marvel sequel good.
Something good, something bad, a bit of both.
The problem with a lot of these sequels is that they just give us more of the same. The same characters in a slightly different situation, maybe a bigger budget, but ultimately they don't deliver anything different than the first film. The best Marvel sequels, like The Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3, take the characters we love from the first films and recontextualize them in a completely different genre. You can't jam every superhero into the same story template. Marvel has a huge roster of diverse and interesting characters, but their uniqueness can't shine through when they only get to play in one sandbox. Let's look at Iron Man 2. Released in 2010, it's Marvel's first attempt at a real sequel, and they played it safe. Tony Stark isn't a weapons dealer anymore, but he's still the same egomaniac ass from the first film.
You have a 9:30 dinner.
Perfect, I'll be there at 11.
Only this time he has to find a cure for his toxic blood instead of the shrapnel in his heart. The villains of the story are Justin Hammer and Ivan Vanko. Hammer is a greedy industrialist, while Vanko is driven by revenge, which is a big leap from the first film where Obadiah Stane was also a greedy industrialist who also wanted revenge.
Your father, he helped give us the atomic bomb. Now, what kind of world would it be today if he was as selfish as you?
Revenge is probably the most played out supervillain trope in history, just beneath world domination. The Green Goblin wants revenge against some corporate suits. The Penguin lashes out at a society that spurned him, while Catwoman demands payback from the man who tried to kill her. Hell, two different versions of General Zod want vengeance on Superman for the actions of his dead father.
Now, the son of Jor-El will be my slave. Forever.
You believe your son is safe? I will find him. I will reclaim what you have taken from us.
The exact same motive shared by Ivan Vanko.
What your father did to my family over 40 years, I will do to you in 40 minutes.
You know how it ends. The hero foils the bad guy's plot after some big battle and flies off into the sunset. It's a fine origin story, but it's a boring sequel. Compare Iron Man 2 with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It's Marvel's best sequel and arguably the finest film they've ever produced. Why? Because it's not a superhero movie. New directors, the Russo brothers, wanted to create a super-powered 70s conspiracy film, citing Sidney Pollack's classic 3 Days of the Condor as a major influence. They even cast Condor star Robert Redford as the main antagonist and took heavy inspiration from his story and style.
Would you move from the window, please?
I won't scream.
In Condor, Redford is the CIA analyst caught in a tense game of cat and mouse as he uncovers a conspiracy embedded deep inside his agency.
Down the security there.
Maybe there's another CIA inside the CIA.
But I think it's time you know the truth. S.H.I.E.L.D. is not what we thought it was. It's been taken over by Hydra.
There are similar scenes between the two movies, like the deadly apartment invasions that help build a sense of tension and paranoia. There's also a feeling that nowhere is safe, no one can be trusted, and allies may not be who they seem. Speaking of which, the titular Winter Soldier brings to mind another amnesiac operator.
Who am I? You're U.S. government property. You're a malfunctioning $30 million weapon.
The Bourne films are another modern take on the spy thrillers of the 70s, and another influence on the Russos. Without the laser beams, rocket boots, and other trappings of the superhero genre, the Russos focus on up-close, Paul Greengrass-style action. There's a lot of gunplay in the film, ground-level chase scenes, and tight, close-quarters combat. The enemy isn't just some guy, it's an institution. Cap's core values like his faith in the government are what's at stake, not the fate of the universe. Leaving the sincere, sentimental stylings of Joe Johnston's first film behind, the Russos took a different approach and created a taut political thriller. With his simpler days of fascist punching behind him, they used the change of genre to modernize Cap for our complex, technocratic world. Even brilliant filmmakers like Joss Whedon and Edgar Wright can get frustrated with the formula. They both felt constrained by Marvel's strict requirements and parted ways with the studio.
Really?
I retire for what, like 5 minutes and it all goes to shit.
Now, Marvel does occasionally let an auteur go wild with their vision, like when they tapped action movie legend Shane Black to write and direct the final film in the Iron Man trilogy. The creator of Lethal Weapon seemed like an odd fit for a superhero movie, but his famous wit and focus on character was a perfect match for the franchise.
What? I don't want to work with you.
Hey, don't.
Ain't got no choice. Looks like we both the
That's right, Shane Black turned Iron Man 3 into the ultimate buddy cop movie.
You gonna? Yep. What do I do?
Stay on my 6, cover high, and don't shoot me in the back.
All of Shane Black's hallmarks are in Iron Man 3. It's filled with his sardonic, self-aware humor.
Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me?
No! The definition of the word idiot, which you are.
Honestly, I hate working here. They are so weird.
Unlikely allies slowly bonding through a perilous journey.
Stay in a car.
No way, I'm coming with you.
Kid, let's say this is a movie. How many times have you heard someone say, stay in a car, and the guy doesn't? What happens?
He saves the day.
Or gets killed.
Good point, I'll stay in the car. Me saving your life.
Yeah, A, saved you first. B, thanks, sort of. And C, if you do someone a solid, don't be a yutz, all right? Just play it cool. Otherwise, you come off grandiose.
Admit it. You need me. We're connected.
And of course, it's set at Christmas time.
This is one hell of a way to spend Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Sorry I f***ed you over.
Screwed, it's Christmas.
For Shane Black's Iron Man, he placed his superheroes into a genre he's more comfortable with, instead of conforming to the standard superhero tropes. And you know what? It wasn't an epic Avengers crossover, but it was still a ton of fun. And speaking of fun, we finally come to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Marvel put a lot of faith in quirky horror director James Gunn, but he delivered a unique film that stood apart from the rest of the Marvel universe. Gunn took inspiration from the Dirty Dozen, creating an ensemble of scoundrels, soldiers, and outlaws forced to work as a team for the chance at a fresh start. As great as the characters were, by the end, even Guardians falls back on a stock superhero climax. There's a so-so villain, and there's his doomsday MacGuffin. For the sequel, the plot doesn't seem to matter much. Instead, the movie has fun exploring how the newly established Guardians fit into their roles. The characters all have their own stories and arcs, even Baby Groot and this random guy. It's the crew you all know and love and the crazy situations that force them to learn and change. It feels like an episode of Futurama meets The Empire Strikes Back. What it doesn't feel like is a superhero movie, and neither do the best Marvel sequels. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of the MCU, and Thor Ragnarok has my attention more than any other MCU movie coming out this year. I love Guardians, Spider-Man looks dope, but Thor I feel like is gonna change the game in terms of Marvel sequels, especially being the third in the trilogy. If you guys wanna share your thoughts, leave them in the comments below, and there we go.